I think USC is going to shock a lot of people. The people that don't know, they might think we're underdogs. I really like USC's chances if they stay healthy. Caller, hang on 1 second. On Mark's national show earlier today, I said that for those guys that played the old NCAA football games, you know what I'm talking about. There's like a slider for injury, right? You could set it from like 100% or 10 to 0, whatever, and you could turn off injuries. If I could turn off injuries for 2024, I really like our odds in the Big Ten. I mean, I think the way we match up against a lot of people, sure, we are going to have some issues, stopping the run late in games. I know we will. We're going to be thin in the middle. But I like our starting 22. I just really do. The key is going to be, and also there's a slider for stamina, right? So you guys will get tired. You can turn off the fact that guys get tired too, which usually then if you got tired, the guys would get injured. Anyway, I'm not go down that road. But in real life, that's the same thing. If we could turn those sliders down, I'm far more confident. I still think we have a much better season than most people give us a chance for doing. But God, I tell you, we just need guys at certain positions to say. I don't want to say their names even because I don't want to hex this thing. But I absolutely think that USC is going to shock some people, Roy. I think that we have depth on the offensive line that we haven't had recently. I think our secondary, and I keep the second week in a row, is going to be lights out this year. I think if we keep our linebackers healthy, I think that crew just takes a quantum leap up. Coach Baugh and Entz, I just think those linebackers are going to write some storylines through the games. Everyone's not going to give us much of a chance on defense. You watch those guys show out. I think that the linebackers are going to have a great season. Matt, you want to throw anything else on that?
If USC does stay healthy, I agree. Like I do like our front line talent on the depth chart, our number ones. But football is an attritional sport, and usually it doesn't work out that you have perfect health through a season. But insofar as just the specific contours and parameters of your point, Tim, I agree. I love our starters, but the depth just is not there, especially on the defensive line. And that's my main concern.
And before we shove off again, Gary, again, thank you. We should be paying you for your phone calls. Gary, thank you for the $10 super chat. Appreciate you being here, and we appreciate the super chat as well. Caller, sorry for keeping you waiting. You're on with Matt. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, good, guys. Dave from Iowa.
Hey, Dave. How you doing?
Good. Well, in terms of a Friday, I can't complain after, watching 2 days of track and field and watching today, and can't wait for tomorrow to see how USC finishes up. But so in terms of my question, just now I saw On3's visitor list for USC, and I was pleased to see Malik Autry, who's a Auburn commit, nose tackle at 6'5", like 325 or something like that, and happy to see it. Hopefully we get his commitment, but is it kind of like we're throwing all of our chips into like this one nose tackle, or is there a mindset of getting more than one huge nose tackle, or do you think in terms of the D linemen that USC is recruiting, do you think that there are projections there that these guys that are at 285, 290 in high school can hit that 305, 310 mark at the collegiate level?
Matt, will you go, Matt? I can go if you want.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I said a long time ago, I was saying when they were not going after, it's not like USC. So there was some news that came out recently. I can't remember who it was. God, it was one of the nose tackles that we went after. If someone in the chat can remind me, said, SC threw $400,000 at me. He actually gave a number, right? He said between 200 and 400, which I thought was weird. I would think if someone's going to give you 400,000, like if someone told me it was 3,825,000, I would know that number to the penny if someone said, hey, we're kind of thinking this. But he said that they came after him pretty hard with the money. But I just don't think that USC is going to, I don't think USC is going to overpay. And I think that was the situation you had. We talked about ad nauseum on the show, the fact that when God didn't make too many people that are 6'2" to 6'4", 310 to 340 pounds on this planet. There just aren't that many of them. And I don't think in college football, or really in football in general, no, not everybody is an Aaron Donald, but you don't have to play at 220 and at I'm sorry, 320 in the interior line. You don't need to do that. Where I worry about is depth, like you just got to there. If we have quality backups, because you can't play the entire game with one nose tackle the whole game, that you're going to have a rotation. If USC can have just quality guys in there that are not going to be gashed, right? The offense is not going to run right at them. That's all you're going to need. Because we keep forgetting one thing. We're going to score a lot of points. We just are, and my worry is that the schools that can do it, like a Michigan, we're going to sit there and they're going to just basically body blow us for 3 quarters, kind of like what they did a couple years in a row to Ohio State, body blows for a couple, and all of a sudden the fourth quarter, the floodgates open up. Because why? Because your team is smashed and gashed on defense, and they give it up that way. If this defense can get off the field, if we have guys, I don't care who emerges, on the team that can give us some good minutes in the interior defensive line, to give Bear Alexander a break, right? To give Kobe Pepe a break, because he looks like he's going to be our day one starter. If you have those guys that can rotate in there and give these guys a breather, the young freshmen or anyone they could bring in, that's going to be key to the season about winning against those tough teams. A lot of these teams, I'm going to say it right now, on our schedule, I'm not too worried about, but there are teams in there with really good. I mean, LSU has 2 of the best tackles in the country. They're going to run right at USC. So we'll see how they handle that. And then I could talk from there. So I don't know. I don't want to go too much detail on it because we don't know what the young guys are going to bring. We don't know. You were talking about putting some weight on. Let's say what was the kid is like 275, 285. He packs under 10 pounds, gets 295, 300. Then maybe people aren't freaking out so hard. I don't know, Matt. What do you got?
Well, I mean, USC is undergoing a transition in terms of its philosophy, in terms of strength and conditioning. So, like that's something that we're not going to know how effective the switch in the strength and conditioning points of emphasis are until the season starts. So, like that's something, Dave, that's kind of lurking underneath the surface of this conversation, and we're not really going to get more solid answers until the season begins and unfolds. So that's part of it. But I do fundamentally share Tim's view that I don't think USC is going to overpay for individual players. And I would say that whether that's the right approach or not, that's really a debate that we have had to an extent. It's a debate that's worth continuing to have. But I would say that, in this 2024 cycle, I think it probably was worth it for USC to overpay for a run stuffer, a really big guy in the middle, just because that was an aching point of need, and also because Isaiah Rakes slipped through the cracks. He seemed to play USC like a fiddle because he exploited that SEC transfer rule where you can't directly transfer to another SEC school and get playing time, but you can transfer somewhere else. So he goes from A&M to USC in the winter, and then he goes to Auburn in the spring, and looky here, he'll play for Hugh Freeze. So I just think he exploited that loophole. But because Rakes did get away, I think there was value in overpaying to not only get a position of acute need, but also to send a message to Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, others that, hey, we're serious. We're here to play ball. And I think sometimes I don't believe in overpaying as a general rule, but I do think there are specific situations in which the overpay sends a message and can carry a residual benefit. I did think that an interior run stuffer was worth an overpay for the 2024 cycle. But as we look ahead to 2025, and this June recruiting weekend, like this is where USC, in many ways, Dave, this is where USC can avoid the need to have to overpay, right? If USC can really hit some home runs over the next month and stack some recruits and build depth, then you won't be in that vulnerable position. So USC might have gotten caught short in the 2024 cycle to the extent that it might have been worth an overpay. But I do think Tim is right as a general rule that USC is not going to try to do that if it doesn't have to.
And I mean, here's the thing. I think you got to look at the classes and the quality of players that USC is courting right now. Then go back and think about earlier, I don't know when it was, beginning of spring, late winter, where they started talking about, hey, House of Victory, we're gonna roll our sleeves up and we're gonna get into the high school NIL game. We're gonna start doing this thing that we're not gonna recruit with one arm behind our back anymore. And then there's also, like I've been alluding to, this staff knows who they're bringing on. Maybe they see something in Carlin Jones, Abasiri, one of these young guys that they say, hey, look, instead of spending $400,000 on one of these guys, why don't we use this time to get these kids ready? I'm not saying they're mailing in the 2024 season. I'm not, but it doesn't seem like they're all in like an Ohio State is, right? Ohio State doesn't have an Uncle Phil. Don't get me wrong. They have a very robust fan base that's willing to give money at all levels of income. I'm not saying that at all. But it just seems like they're really mortgaging the house on this season. I mean, I don't know. I don't know their financials. I don't know how deep it goes. And then there's Oregon. They have like a billionaire that's willing to throw millions so he can win before he dies. I think USC is looking at saying, yeah, we want to win, but are we going to mortgage the future, or are we going to continue year 3 to build the lines that we need, go after the guys across the country, the defensive linemen across the country, get them in as freshmen, and then hang on to them? Because remember, you don't just have to get these guys in on day one. You also have to keep recruiting them and keep paying them as they stay in your system. So it's young in this game, and I believe SC is invested. I think we're going to see where it goes. Sorry about that for a long-winded answer, Dave.
You're good. In terms of both your guys' response, I totally get where you're coming from. But from my perspective, I'm looking at it. You guys and other USC fans use the term overpaying. I'm curious if the fan base uses the term overpaying because it's a concern of if the ROI, return on investment, so to speak, on that nose tackle is worth it or not, versus the other big dogs, Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, the list goes on from that perspective. Do they see it as overpaying? Or, hey, a competitive offer where the ROI is high for us, or high for them to win a national championship or something like that.
I don't see the Georgias. I mean, two of those teams are different than the Georgia. Your Georgia example, Georgia's been doing what USC wants to do, and it appears to be trying to do, meaning building the team, trying to get away from the portal and start building it through their high school. I think that Oregon's done a great job of both. I mean, again, they have Phil Knight, who's literally earlier when I was talking about what's wrong with this sport, I'm not saying it's like totally unfair because it's legal to do, but I'm just telling you, when you have a situation where they're completely going beyond what this was supposed to be with NIL and just throwing money and overpaying and saying, we got deeper pockets to everybody, so we're going to out recruit everybody, and we're going to go out there and buy the pieces that we need. And we might even just grab a couple people we don't need to keep them away from other people. That's the college football we're playing right now. Do you think, unless we as fans want to be like a Phil Knight and start throwing, $400,000 to $700,000 at guys that really aren't worth the money, just because we have $50 billion, I don't think USC is in a position to do that right now. I just don't. I think they're doing much better. I think House of Victory does have, and the collectives do have the money for a lot of this, but they're not in the same boat as an Ohio State. They don't have the funds that Oregon has. They're not there yet.
Okay, I understand. I mean, I kind of disagree with you, Tim, but all I'll say is,
if you're going to disagree, explain why you disagree. Don't just say, I disagree. What do you disagree with?
I disagree that in terms of, the six-figure, nose tackle, in terms of Harmon or whatever, again, someone can look at it as overpaying, but if I was USC, I would borderline attempt to match the competitive offer that Oregon gave, because I think there's a better ROI in terms of in-season production in the interior line with him than Kobe Pepe. Just because we at least know what Harmon has done at the Big Ten level. No offense to Kobe Pepe, we barely know what he's done at the Pac-12 level.
It's, again, a valid point. I think everyone's putting way too much. Listen, if Harmon goes up to Oregon and just kills it, then I'll retract my statement that I think that he's good but not great. That he's a solid player but not a difference maker. I'm with you. Do you think that I don't want them to go out and spend money? I'm trying to speculate, you guys. I'm not making these decisions. I'm saying, why would USC do it? Because I think we all agree that USC does have the money, correct? You agree, Dave, that they have the money to spend for?
Yes, exactly.
They could have. They could have spent
Mm-hmm.
that money on a nose tackle. Is that position insanely important in football? It absolutely is vital to this season. But what I am also trying to tell you is that there is a reason why they aren't doing it. Okay? And so instead of playing it safe, saying, well, yeah, they're wrong, they should do this, I agree with you. I wish they had. What I'm doing up here, and I don't see a lot of other people doing, is I'm trying to figure out why. And I don't think it's because USC can't or doesn't want to. Do you know what I mean? I think they have a reason. And reasons that I gave was they worked it all out in their head. They're looking at the 2025 class. They're looking big picture. They're looking at who they have coming in. You know, I just said Carlin Jones and Jide Abasiri, right? And other guys. There's a lot of options they have, and they're gonna have those options. So to recap, so I don't go too long-winded, and the person probably hung up a million hours ago. One, wish we had 2 or 3 more defensive tackles. 2, I think they should have paid, like Matt said, because it's a position of need, and if you have to pay the extra premium in order to get it, because well, it's supply and demand, then you pay it. There is a reason why I'm saying they don't want to, because by the way, it is an overpayment for the quality of player you're getting. That kind of money is an overpayment. Is it necessary? Like Matt said, it might be. If you're dead set on winning the Big Ten this year, you probably should have made that money. You probably should have thrown that money down, unless there's something that Matt and you and I don't know that they already have on the roster. A plan they have to mitigate not having that position to rotate players. Because another thing I keep in the back of my head saying, they're looking for guys that are multiple, that are versatile inside. They can move along the line. They're going to probably do some creative stuff. We'll see if it works. But the safe bet was, like you all just said, pay the extra money, get 1 or 2 of those guys, and call it a day. There's a reason why they didn't do it. And that's why I'm asking the people that are saying, well, blah, blah, blah. Why? You think that we know more than Riley? You think we know more than Dan Lynn? You think we know more than all the guys, Dave Emmerichs, all those guys in there? They're looking at this whole thing as a whole. I highly doubt that.